So I want to talk about, there was the party that AOC went to. There she is with the...
she looks beautiful.
She looks beautiful with the tax the
beautiful.
rich.
Absolutely. Look at the silhouette. It's stunning.
So a lot of people have said that what they do... Look, there's Marilyn Monroe back there. I don't know how she time traveled, but a lot of people say that the squad is not worth anything except tweeting, and now they literally wear tweets when they go out to events. That's what that is.
It was disappointing that she didn't have a hashtag.
No kidding. I know. No kidding. But
that was the one faux pas in her otherwise perfect design.
By the way, there were a bunch of people outside protesting the police during this event. She didn't mention them. She wasn't out there protesting.
Yeah, unfortunately, she wasn't able to make her way out there.
She couldn't make it.
It's hard to do that in stilettos.
So that's a $30,000 event. And Nick is from the Fred Hampton Leftist says, Justice Democrats be like, we need to raise awareness on policies that have 70% popular support. Yeah, everybody's for taxing the rich. We don't need any more. We need you to fight for it. How about you actually go fight for it?
Well, the other way, before you get into that, the other funniest thing about that, and maybe this point comes up, is so funny, is they were acting as though she had brought some incredibly disturbing message to what was going to be a hostile crowd, as though she was at a Koch brothers austerity event. These were Joe Biden liberal celebrities. You think Rihanna and Naomi Osaka and all these, Democrats and liberals were offended because AOC wore a speech wore a dress that said tax the rich. There was a user on Twitter who found the Michael Moore acceptance speech when he won the Oscar in 2003. And he used it for his film about Columbine. And he got up there and he said, we have a president who's a liar. The war is a lie. And all those Hollywood liberals, because of the atmosphere at the time, started viciously booing him.
I remember that.
And she pointed out that's what happens if you actually are doing something subversive.
Yes.
No one was the slightest bit bothered by AOC. They thought it was adorable.
Yes. They were giggling with her. They thought it was great. So here, don't worry, guys. In 2028, the squad will wear Green New Deal banners to the ball as the planet burns around us. Yes, but think of all the committee assignments they'll have gained by then. That's the important thing. Don't forget that. Shama Sawant tweeted out, the unfortunate truth is we're not going to tax the rich or win Medicare for all or $15 minimum wage by attending billionaire galas. What? We won Seattle's historic $15 an hour in Amazon tax, not by me attending Amazon or Chamber of Commerce events, but by me using my office to build fighting movements. Wow. If you're wondering what the liberal leftist divide is, it's your reaction to the Met Gala. That's such a beautiful tweet. That's such a great sentiment that I couldn't believe I went on. I'm so stupid, as I always say. It's true. I went on social media and I couldn't believe the people defending her doing this obvious stupid stunt that had no impact on anything and didn't bother the elite whatsoever. But there were people cheering for her as if she was doing something.
Of course. Okay. What happened is so obvious, right? For all the tens of thousands of words that have been spilled, what happened here is actually extremely simple. She got invited to go to this really opulent, extravagant, glitzy gala and hang out with super famous and rich celebrities in a way that's very glamorous. And she really wanted to go.
Yes.
Because it's fun for people to do that, for some people. At the same time, she knew that if she did that, she would have a problem with how could she maintain her socialist street credibility. So at the last second, she's like, let's just spray paint tax the rich on the back of my dress and that'll solve the whole thing, knowing that most of her followers are so fucking stupid that they're going to actually think that was some subversive and self-sacrificing thing that she did for them, as opposed to just some way of laughing at them to entitle her not just to go to one of the most vulgar testaments to capitalism ever to emerge since the time of Marie Antoinette, but to have them cheer for her as she did it. I mean, it's unbelievable.
What you want to, first of all, I just want to go back to what Aaron said. He said, if you're wondering what the liberal leftist divide is, it's your reactions to Met Gala. Now, I thought it used to be the left liberal divide used to be how much yelling hurt your feelings. That used to be it. So, but now here's exactly your point, Glenn. Here she is. She's going now. This to me, it looks like she's at the Oscars or a movie premiere. Watch this.
Yes, AOC!
There's your socialist champion, ladies and gentlemen. There's your socialist champion with someone carrying her dress behind her. And by the way, if you notice, the person carrying her dress is wearing a mask. Only the servants at this event were wearing masks. And that's really what I wanted to, because I covered the grossness of what she's doing and the transparent stunt of what this was already. I covered it yesterday. So I wanted to focus more on just the blatant hypocrisy that the elite have had over just the way they've handled COVID, telling you to be locked down, telling you to wear a mask. And then, of course, here in California, Gavin Newsom going out to the richest, the most expensive restaurant in the country, the French Laundry, sitting there with 2 health insurance lobbyists, one on each shoulder. So that's the kind of thing that is driving people crazy, that kind of blatant hypocrisy. And here it is, the masking of servant class. Ugly COVID images from the Met Gala are now commonplace. While AOC's revolutionary and subversive socialist gown generated buzz, the normalization of maskless elites attended by the faceless servants is grotesque.
Yes.
There it is. It is grotesque.
Who wrote that? That's a brilliant headline and subheadline. Who was the author of that article?
I think it was some dick on Reddit, but
Some douchebag.
Oh wait, it was Glenn Greenwald. He wrote,
Oh yeah, that's right. It's been a couple days. I forgot.
yeah, that's right. So that was, and that's over at Substack, glenngreenwald.substack.buck. But so here's, want to see another one? Here's Nancy Pelosi. Watch this. So there's all the.
Question was asked this morning by Ambassador Solomon about young people and how we were reaching out to young people in the Olympics.
So nobody masked. And who's talking? There's Nancy Pelosi. So again, there's another, and here it is. Here's Gavin Newsom. For California governor, the coronavirus message is do as I say, not as I dine. Oh my God. So let me see. Here's Barack Obama. Obama caught dancing maskless during celebrity-packed birthday party. Come on, Pearl Jam canceled. Here, you want to see it? Here, I don't have the music, but here they are. And there's Barack Obama dancing. Nobody's wearing a mask. Nobody's wearing a mask. Here he goes over. He's going to hug. I don't know who he's hugging.
It's indoors. You'll notice too. They claimed at first it was going to be an outdoor. It's just all of it. You see the ceiling of the tents. It's all indoors.
Yes, they're all indoors and they're maskless, except for the help. Again, the help is not maskless. And I just want to bring up this point. The United States has the highest, if not the highest, death rate of COVID. Right? We handled it really poorly in the United States. Guess who handled it poorly? The elites, right? It's the oligarchs handled it poorly while they transferred $5 trillion upward while they told you to go home and they didn't give you a check while they canceled your job, right? And now the eviction moratorium's over and a lot of people are getting kicked out of there because of the way the elites have handled this. That the reason why we're having death rates and all, Andrew Cuomo lying, making old people sick, go back into their old folks' home. And so what Joe Biden and the shit libs want you to do now is be angry at your neighbor. They want you to be angry at your neighbor who's not vaccinated. They want you to be angry at your neighbor. And so keep fighting amongst they want you to be angry at your neighbor who's taking a medicine that they don't approve of. They want you to be angry at each other instead of angry at the people who are responsible for this. And I'll tell you one more time, 200,000 people would be alive today if we had Medicare for all. That's a fact. 200,000 people would be alive today. So if the oligarchs gave a shit about us, they would give us health care during this pandemic. But they don't, because they don't give a shit. And what they want us to do is blame each other. That's exactly what they want us to do. Keep fighting and blame each other because that's all they got. All right, I'll throw it over to you, Glenn, about the masks.
Yeah, well, I mean, for me, this was the much more relevant part than the part about AOC. I know in your narcissism, you typically keep yourself very large in the screen and your guest like at a little tiny thumbnail. So you probably can't see the image I have behind me.
No, you're full
and
screen.
I don't know, maybe like momentarily you can sacrifice your ego to enlarge me for just like a split second and then make me tiny again so that you're dominating the screen. But if you can see, that is like a screenshot. This is the thing that shocked me the most from the AOC part, which was, so here she is. She's coming out of, like the hotel, going into the air-conditioned bus that was rented for all the people to go to another party on the water. And she walks out and there's these like adoring fans, all of whom are masked along with the paparazzi. So the ordinary people are masked. The people who are getting shit wages to try and snap a picture of her in the hopes of selling it, because, we don't see AOC enough. They're all masked. And then the most amazing thing is she has a servant carrying the train of her fucking dress, her gown, and he's masked and she's not. How can this be? I mean, how is it that it's scientifically justified that the servants have to wear masks standing 2 feet away from the celebrities who don't? And how does that image not disturb everybody so severely? And so when I first noticed this and wrote about it, it was in the context of the Nancy Pelosi event where you had this, what it was a fundraiser for the DCCC. It was in Napa in California. It was like weeks after LA County had reimposed a mask mandate for large outdoor events. And San Francisco had maintained its mask mandate that went further than the CDC, saying that if you're going to be outdoors in close proximity to people, you should still wear a mask. And yet here was the DCCC dinner in Napa, this like very, chic wine region in Nancy Pelosi's district or right nearby where she has her mansion. And you had, I don't know, if it wasn't 100% rich white Democrats, it was like 98% rich white Democrats sitting one on top of the other. That's like too little social distancing for me, even without the pandemic. Like I would never want to sit that close to people I didn't know, let alone in the middle of like a pandemic that's supposed to be so like threatening that we have to keep our fucking schools closed and everyone has to wear a piece of cloth mask over their face. None of them had masks on, even though they weren't eating. Some of them are waiting to be served, but they weren't eating. So they didn't even have the excuse that, well, had my mask off because I was in the middle of eating. In fact, Gavin Newsom, like days before he got caught with no mask at that lobbyist dinner, tweeted, hey, even if you're eating and you have to take your mask off to eat, what you do is you pull your mask off with one hand, shovel the food in the other, and then really quickly as possible cover yours. He said mask in between bites. So this is the stuff they're decreeing to all these ordinary people while exempting themselves in every way. So you see at that event, the only people who have cloth over their face are the overwhelmingly people of color who are there to be the servants to the rich white people who are free to have their faces unmasked. And it's just such a kind of like vivid illustration for me of the cultural rot and balkanization, this cultural segregation that we have in the United States more than ever before between cultural and political and media and financial elites on the one hand and ordinary people on the other, that we're now at the point that the servants don't even need, you don't even have to see their faces. You just tell them to cover their faces with cloth so that they just serve and you just dehumanize them. No contact with their nose or mouth. They don't even look human so that they don't bother you. They're just there to serve. While like the real people, the actual humans, the wealthy ones or the famous ones, the celebrities like AOC are free to go maskless. How is it that you can be somebody? Like, honestly, Jimmy, like looking at this picture makes me uncomfortable. It makes me incredibly uncomfortable.
How does it not?
How do you as AOC not say to this person, you know what? Do you know who was in front of AOC when she was walking up there?
No.
It was her boyfriend. Why not say to the boyfriend, look, I don't want some paid worker carrying the fucking train of my dress like I'm some kind of like British aristocrat. Why don't you carry it or just fucking carry it yourself?
Right.
And like, if you see that the guy is like, you say to him like, hey, look, I don't have a mask on. Like, maybe you should take your mask off. Feel free to, because it's not really right. That if you have any actual authenticity in your like anti-hierarchy or socialist inclinations, just reflexively you would avoid this situation. Not because of the optics, although obviously you should do it for that if you're a politician. It would make me feel so, uncomfortable. It's so repellent to see it that I just can't believe. But instead she's like waving like some kind of fucking, like Princess of Wales or whatever. It's like the Oscars, as you said, like on the red carpet coming out and having adoring fans scream for her. She like does that little royal wave while there's a guy in a mask carrying her fucking dress. And this disparity is that's why, like, for me, the more interesting part of this was not should AOC have gone to the fucking Met Gala. We all know AOC wants to be a cultural celebrity. And then she uses the pretext that she's just doing it to reach people, to bring the socialist message, whatever. That we all know the reality of AOC by now. That's not really that interesting. What really caught my attention is now how commonplace this is. So even when I wrote about it, Jimmy, that first time, in that DCCC dinner in California, a lot of people, even well-meaning people, said to me, why are you making a point of this? This is how it works now. You go to a restaurant, you sit there unmasked, and the waiters are masked. And it's like, the fact that it's commonplace doesn't make it better. Actually, it makes it worse. That's my point. We're like constantly getting acculturated to the idea that we have two classes of people, even to the point of who gets to show their face and who doesn't.
So those are all great points, and I just want to make another point about the dress she's wearing. So people were, of course, that's the opposite of her image. Her street cred is that she wants to abolish ICE, and she's with the people, even though there were people outside protesting the cops, and she didn't even acknowledge it. She wasn't out there protesting. She was inside wearing this dress, and she defended the dress by
gown.
The gown. It's a gown, and she just said that.
Yes, you need to be respectful of what was done here.
And she said
the art that was created.
And she said it was made by a woman of color who was an immigrant, which sounds great. The woman,
a working class woman of color like her.
That's right.
Who's an immigrant.
That's right. Do you know where she immigrated from? She immigrated from Toronto. Tell me about your journey.
It is such a long and arduous trek. It is extremely dangerous. People really don't understand how menacing that is to have to go from fucking Toronto to Manhattan. Imagine the horrors this woman endured in order to become a migrant. And then, like, she was also like, there was that clip of hers where she said, yeah, her name is Aurora James. She's like a famous designer. That's the designer of AOC's radical, subversive, revolutionary dress. And she said, yeah, Aurora and I were talking about how meaningful it is that two working class women of color are going to be at this event, and we need to break the fourth wall and all that bullshit. And your point, I presume, is we learned who this downtrodden immigrant woman of color is dating. So why don't you show that?
Oh, she's dating. So the woman who designed the dress is dating a 100 millionaire. I don't have the.
Yeah, I think it's like a hedge fund manager from like the family that was one of the co-founders of Lehman Brothers.
Yes, that's exactly right. Lehman Brothers. That's right. We reported on this yesterday. I don't have it loaded into today's show. But yeah, 100 million. Thank you for the setup. Her boyfriend, the woman who designed that dress, is an immigrant from Toronto, and her boyfriend is a 100 millionaire from Lehman Brothers. So there you go. There's this regular people, and this regular.
So and then of course. And I know this is shocking and so out of character for AOC. She went on to Instagram, I guess it was this morning. When was it? It was this morning, to address her critics. And you'll never guess what she accused her critics of. In a million years, you'll never guess because it's so out of character for her. She accused her critics of being resentful of women of color being in power, of wanting to control the bodies of women in color because they're not comfortable with powerful women of color like her. Basically, she accused everybody who might be disturbed by a scene like this of a masked servant carrying the gown of a socialist, of being a white supremacist, a misogynist, and every other form of bigotry because you're against working class women of color being invited to the Met Gala.
That's it. That's the flex. So the flex now is any criticism of of them is that you're misogynist, you're racist, you're white supremacist. That's it. They don't ever engage on the substance of anything. I was also, she accused me of violence, that my words criticizing her in my garage were violent.
She's always the victim. She's like in this fucking, the most exclusive elite event that the darkest recesses of the capitalist brain has ever puked up in centuries. And she's the victim. She's like the one who's being bullied and abused. That's always her go-to. I'm sure you saw the online conflict. It was very one-sided between Nicki Minaj and MSNBC's Joy Reid, who is, as we know, victimized by hackers who are unfortunately still at large. So be careful out there.
Time-traveling hackers.
Traveling hackers who unfortunately the FBI never apprehended, despite the investigation that they had launched to find them. Where basically Nicki Minaj went onto Twitter and claimed that she has a cousin in Trinidad whose friend got vaccinated and as a result not only became impotent but had swollen balls, and his fiance broke off the wedding because of it, and she encouraged people not to take the vaccine because they're being bullied. But so Joy Reid did a segment saying, "Oh, Nicki, I'm a huge fan, but what you did here is wrong." And Nicki Minaj unleashed the holiest hell on Joy Reid, like a series of tweets accusing her of, being a black woman who attacks other black women to please white men, but also then ended up doing Oppo research on Joy Reid and found her homophobic tweets and the bullshit lies she told about the hackers. And to this day, even though Nicki Minaj is relentlessly attacking Joy Reid, to 22 million people who follow Nicki Minaj on Twitter, Joy Reid hasn't uttered a peep, not a syllable of acknowledgement, let alone response. You know why? Because the only tactic Joy Reid has in the world is the one AOC used against her critics, which is to claim everybody's a white supremacist and doesn't like her because she's black. And it doesn't work with Nicki Minaj. So it's like a car that's ready to drive, but it's completely out of gas. The tank is empty. She doesn't know how to start the car. And, it's just by now, everyone is so accustomed to the cynical weaponization of these insults that I don't think anyone really gives a shit anymore.
Yes. And it doesn't work as well. That's certainly, thank God. Yeah. I mean, and that's not to say that there isn't racism and misogyny in the world. But when, just like when you call Bernie Sanders a sexist and then you call Donald Trump a sexist, it has no meaning. And
it's worse than that. It reminds me a lot of the way neocons have so weaponized anti-Semitism against anyone who criticizes Israel.
Yes.
So essentially, the minute you criticize the Israeli government, you get accused of anti-Semitism. And what it does is not just that it weakens it, it trivializes that concept. So there is anti-Semitism in the world, and it's dangerous, and we need words to combat it, but they've ruined the ability to combat it by cynically exploiting it over and over for political gain. That's what people like AOC and Joy Reid are doing with things like misogyny and racism, is they're so flagrantly exploiting it and tossing it recklessly for their own purposes that when you actually need it to confront real racism and misogyny, they're basically giving a huge gift to actual racism and misogynists, because those words, we get trained to just tune out to them because of their abuse.
That's why you're the writer. That's well said. That's exactly right. The overuse of them makes people deaf to them and desensitized to them. And that's what I tried to say that when they were calling Bernie Sanders a something like, if you call him, it's not going to work and they don't care. Hey everybody, we just added stand-up dates in Florida and Arizona. And we are going to be at Harlow's. We just added a second show in Sacramento, California on October 3rd. Is it the 3rd? I think so. So go to jimmydorcomedy.com for the Florida tickets, the Tempe tickets, and the Sacramento, California. See you there.